Peace, love, harmony, and light. My brothers and sisters, how y'all feeling? Man, like I said, it's a beautiful day out here. It's raining and it's cool. You know, the rain is a little cold, but I'm inside and I'm warm. But you know, even the trees, need the rain, and Mother Nature, that's what she does. She takes care of all her children. Everything that has life on the face of the earth is the children of Mama, is the children of Mother Nature, and she takes care of us. You feel me? So the trees, the plants, what I'm saying, the animals, in nature, they're getting that rain, so they need that. So I'm happy for them. All right. With that being said, moving on, just again to put things, in perspective and to be clear that I have found my purpose, and I'm not going to allow anyone or anything to deter me from that. All right. I am a man of wisdom. I'm not stupid. You feel me? And everything that I drop is facts. I'm not saying anything that's not public record. All right. There is a reason why all the indigenous peoples around the world, not just in the Americas. What do you think On Drip is about? Do you think On Drip is about just indigenous people in the Americas? No, that's indigenous people worldwide on the face of the earth, that these colonizers literally have gone through Mother Earth and pillage and rape indigenous people and murder them. And we, the indigenous people, we got tired. Okay? And something had to be done. So what was done on an international platform was On Drip, the declaration. Why do you think they gave you a declaration telling you about indigenous people's rights, so that indigenous people need to be protected because we are an endangered species? Okay? Because they know we are at war with these colonizers. They know this. So if the international platform know this, why can't you see it? Why do you think the United States gave us our own declaration, which is a DRIP, the American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People? Because we are endangered. But people are just too blind to see that. So when I speak from a place of facts and truth. And it's facts over feelings. You see, you get into your emotions. But I have to stay focused. I have to continue to teach, because it's important that if this generation and my elders don't get it, it's because they weren't meant to get it. If they still have that fear in their DNA, that's because they weren't meant to get it. However, I am focusing on our children, our women, okay? Our young men, our young daughters who need the truth. They are seeking the truth. They are lost. They are confused. They are stateless. They are nationless. They have no identity. I want to give them the truth so that they have an option. They have free will to say, okay, you know what? I want to remain a slave, or I want to be indigenous because that's who I am. I want to be who I am. I want to be able to have the freedom to be who I am. That's my mission. That's my goal. I am not here to, promote fear. No, I'm here to open up your eyes as to what's going on. The reality of things. Stop looking at things with the blinders on. I am not here to promote violence. No, I'm here to promote defense, the protection of we, the indigenous people. And you have many declarations. The human rights is a declaration as well, talking about the protection of people's rights. Okay? So with that being said, there is lots of work to be done. And once again, I'm not doing videos to convince you who you are or who you are not. I have done many videos on that. But videos are there to educate you, to make you aware, so that you have point of references. So a lot of times your family may not believe, okay? They may think you're crazy. Oh, you're not indigenous. Oh, you're not the people they call the Indians. Nah. But I am showing you facts. Facts. So that even if they don't believe you, they think you're crazy, just plant the seed. Don't force it on them. Send it to their email. If they want to watch it, they watch it. That's it. all you could do is plant the seed. So in this video, I'm on the History Channel. Once again, I'm showing you the truth from so many different perspectives that no one could deny it. All right. I'm also going to put that link in the video below. So please go read it in detail and let it resonate with you or not. But I'm showing you the facts. And once again, it's facts over feelings. All right. So this is from the History Channel. And this article was from March 2nd, 2018. So that's pretty much recent. Now, I want to know, with all these sources telling you that you are the original people, why is it so hard to believe? I've showed you so many books speaking of the aboriginals of this land. Noah Webster's 1828 dictionary clearly states that an American, the copper-colored races that was found here in the Americas by the Europeans, okay? The original people, the natives that were here, they were copper-colored races. But now the term is being applied to the Europeans and the descendants. In other words, they took your place. And I've showed you in many other Oxford dictionaries where it says Indian, the definition of an Indian, an aboriginal of the Americas, particularly North America. Because in South America, they called us, well, some of our ancestors, they called us Amerindians. Okay? So brothers and sisters, once again, all I could do is bring you the facts. So I'm going to go through this article. It's on the History Channel, and it's of March 2nd, 2018. And the title reads, "When Native Americans were slaughtered in the name of civilization." And that's written by Donald L. Fiziko. Okay? Now, once again, the reason why I have a problem with identifying ourselves as native today is because that term native was taken and it was coined and given to the people that call themselves natives right now. So now it carries a different meaning. Okay? When you call yourself a native right now, you are saying that you are property of the federal government. But native in its original context, it was applied to us, the aboriginals. But that term was taken. Okay? So now it became a political status. So within the construct or the realm of it being a political status, it means that you are property of the federal government. You have no rights. You only have privileges that's allocated to you by the Fed. And I'm going to stop calling them a government because they are not. It is a privately owned corporation. Okay? So it reads, "Their skin was dark." I'm going to repeat that again. Maybe if you don't believe me, go call the History Channel and challenge them and tell them that they are lying. Okay? Their skin was dark. Their languages were foreign. So that's right. The type of Glish that we speak is not our language. We had many forms of languages. So if someone come and take away your languages, is not a form of war? Fear is not a form of genocide. And their world views and spiritual beliefs were beyond most white man's comprehension. In other words, our spiritual beliefs and our world views were so sophisticated, and it was on such a different level that it was beyond their comprehension. They couldn't understand it. Like, wow, these people, they are so spiritual. The way they communicate, the way they articulate themselves, the way they deal with nature, the symbiotic relationship they have with nature. Our ancestors would literally, when Mother Earth or the galaxy, kind of like goes out of balance, they would meditate and put it back on its axis. That's the power that we had. They took that away from us. And you're telling me we're not at war? Anyway, Chief, focus. I'm going to continue reading. On a cool May day in 1758, a 10-year-old girl with red hair and freckles was caring for her neighbor's children in rural Pennsylvania. In a few moments, Mary Campbell's life changed forever when Delaware Indians kidnapped her and absorbed her into their community for the next 6 years. She became the first of some 200 known cases of white captives, many of whom became pawns in an ongoing power struggle that included European powers, American colonists, and indigenous peoples straining to maintain their population, their land, and their way of life. You hear that? The indigenous peoples, that's us. Okay? Straining to maintain our population because they were killing us, our land, and our way of life. Now let me go back to the beginning again, just in case you missed that part. It said their skin was dark. It never said their skin was pale. Okay? So when Native Americans talk, they standing and fighting against us and telling us, oh, y'all not the original people. Oh, y'all from Africa. Don't get it twisted. They are confused. They were mistaught. And a lot of them know the truth. But they are playing the games of the colonizers. But it's okay though. Everything is going to come to light and everything is going to be restored back to the indigenous people of this land, the original people. All right? Their skin were dark. There were languages, their languages were foreign. So all the languages that they speak, who do you think they got it from? It's our languages. All right? That they usurped. Once again, their skin were dark. Let's talk about this Caucasian little girl now, okay? While Mary was ultimately returned to her white family, and some evidence points to her having lived happily with her adopted Indian tribe, stories such as hers became a cautionary tale among white settlers, stoking fear of savage Indians and creating paranoia that escalated into all-out Indian hating. So even if they adopted her, they treated her well, but they wanted to put out there in the world that we were savages. Isn't that the same thing that's happening today? But you want to tell me forget the past? There is nothing new under the sun. All right? They use us. All right? They bite all our cultures. But yet still, they promote us to the world as savages, as thugs, as niggas, as gangsters, as menace to society. The narrative is still the same. Okay? The blueprint is still the same. It is still the same. The agenda is still the same. They just tweak it a little bit. All right? But like I said, I'll continue to bring the truth. And this link is in the description below. And they're showing a picture of a group of Native Americans look at a sailing ship in the bay below them. All right? Now it says, from the time Europeans arrived on American shore, that's right, they arrived. Europeans, they are not aboriginals to our land. They are not indigenous. They arrived. All right? From the time Europeans arrived on American shores, the frontier, the edge territory between white man's civilization and the untamed natural world. Do you hear that? The natural world. That's what I want our people to return to, because that's where we are most strongest. That's where we are in our highest form of existence. That's where we tapping back into our spirituality. You hear that? Between the white man's civilization and the untamed natural world. The natural world, that's right. Let me ask you a question. Go look at any other history book or any type of information. Tell me which other world they call the natural world except ours. But y'all don't hear me though. Became a shared space of vast clashing differences that led to the US government to authorize over 1,500 wars. But yet still you're not at war, right? Do you know how much 1,500 wars is? Man, you could live 1,500 times. In fact, you could live about 2,000 times and not live to see the amount of wars that these people have forced on my ancestors. Attacks and raids on Indians, the most of any country in the world against its indigenous people. You hear that? The most of any country in the world against indigenous people. So when I'm talking how I'm talking, man, let me tell y'all something. Please have some respect for my ancestors' legacy. All right? I'm going to read that again. Right now, I'm almost in tears, man, because this thing, it's emotional. And you have people. Man, let me just calm down a little bit. I'm good. Because I'm feeling my ancestors moving through me right now. All right? And that document wasn't even, honestly, that I have a lot of documents in my archives. I bookmark hundreds of information that I want to share with you. And that wasn't even one of them in my archives. For real. Okay? That wasn't even one of them in my archives. I literally just I was looking for something else on Google. And then something just put in my mind to look something up. Okay? And I looked it up. And then that popped up. So I know my ancestors are moving through me, man. So I'm not here to appease man or please man. No, I am here to do the work of the Most High. I'm here to do the work of my ancestors. I am here to work on behalf of the Great Spirit. That's it. And no weapons formed against me shall prosper. I'm going to read that again. The government authorized over 1,500 wars, attacks, and raids on Indians, the most of any country in the world, against its indigenous people. So not even indigenous Africans went through what we went through. So here we go again. We are telling you, they are showing you and proving to you we are not Africans. And from the very beginning, they tell you what? They were dark. They were dark. My heart bleeds for what happened to my ancestors. You telling me to forget the past? How dare you? Disrespectful. Huh? By the close of the Indian Wars in the late 19th century, fewer than 238,000 indigenous people remained. A sharp decline from the estimated 5 million to 15 million living in North America when Columbus arrived. Once again, they were dark. All right? They were dark. Between 5 million to 15 million in North America alone. Not talking about South America and Central America. They are talking about only in North America alone, what they call Turtle Island. It was close to 15 million of us. 15 million. Okay? They were dark when Columbus arrived in 1492. And in the late 19th century, it was less than 238,000 indigenous of us remained. But of course, they are talking about census numbers of what they could check and what they could count. But I'm certainly sure it was more than 15 million. Okay? So you go read this for yourself, because this is going to be in the link below. The reasons for this racial genocide, you hear that? Genocide. But yet still you are not at war, were multi-layered. Settlers, most of whom had been barred from inheriting property in Europe, arrived on the American shores hungry for Indian land. You hear that? They were barred from getting property in Europe. So they came here hungry, wanting to take our property. And the abundance of natural, you hear that? Natural resources that came with it. Indians' collusion with the British during the American Revolution and the War of 1812 exacerbated American hostility and suspicion towards them. Even more fundamentally, indigenous people were just too different. Okay, we were different. We had our own culture. We had our own spirituality. We had our own languages. All that's gone, but you're telling me we're not at war? Their skin was dark once again. Here it is. They are reiterating again. Their skin was dark. Their languages were foreign. And their world views and spiritual beliefs were beyond white men's comprehension. To settlers, fearful that a loved one might become the next Mary Campbell, all this stuck racial hatred and paranoia, making it easy to paint indigenous peoples as pagan savages. That's right. That's why they ended up giving you that damn Bible. Because everything that we had and we practiced, they call it a pagan, who must be killed in the name of civilization and Christianity. You hear that? We were not Christians. Go read it for yourself. There is not, you know what? If they come and attack us, we will kill them. No, they must be killed in the name of civilization and Christianity. So you telling me to open up my Bible and keep it open? Yo, what's wrong with you, man? Below some of the most aggressive acts of genocide taken against indigenous Americans. You hear that? Against indigenous Americans. And they're showing a picture where babies are laying on the ground and the Caucasian man is about to cut the hand off an American Indian woman. Yes, they were dark skinned. So you go ahead and tell your ancestors to forget the past and move on. You go ahead and tell your ancestors we're not at war. You go ahead and tell them that. You go ahead and tell them that. And that's the Guaden-Houghton massacre in 1872. The Nang-Din-Houghton massacre in 1782. A group of Moravian Protestants in Ohio killed 96 civilized Delaware Indians, illustrating the growing contempt for native people. Captain David Williamson ordered the converted Delawares, you hear that? Converted. Whenever you convert something, you take it out of its original context. Okay? Who had been blamed for attacks on white settlements to go to the cooper shop 2 at a time, where militiamen beat them to death with wooden mallets and hatchets. But you're not at war, right? Ironically, the Delawares were the first Indians to capture a white settler and the first to sign a U.S. treaty 4 years earlier. And I've done all that in videos showing that to you. One that set the precedent for 374 Indian treaties over the next 100 years. Okay, let me ask you a question. How many of them are they honoring right now? But no, Chief. We need to do treaties. Man, shut the hell up, man. Often employing the common phrase, peace and friendship. 229 of these agreements led to tribal lands being ceded to a rapidly expanding United States. You hear that? Out of the 374 treaties that were signed in the next 100 years, 229 of these agreements led to the tribal lands being ceded to a rapidly expanding United States. You know what that means? Taken, stolen. But no, Chief, we need treaties. Many treaties negotiated. U.S.-Indian trade relations. And it's always a treaty about peace and friendship, right? But they don't honor any one of them. Establishing a traded system to oust the British and their goods, especially the guns they put in Indian hands. All right? Here's more pictures. Battle of, what's that? Tippecanoe, 1811. Battle of Tippecanoe. In the early 1800s, the rise of the charismatic Shawnee war leader, Tecumseh, and his brother, known as the Prophet, convinced Indians of various tribes that it was in their interest to stop tribal infighting and band together to protect their mutual interests. You hear that? Tecumseh was a dark-skinned man. You hear that? From the very beginning, they were dark-skinned. Go look at a picture of him now. But you hear what he said? He and his brother, known as a prophet, convinced the other Indians and various tribes that it was in their best interest to stop fighting and band together to protect their mutual interests. Man, it seems like I have a little bit of my ancestors in me, huh? Because what do you think I'm doing? I'm trying to bring my people together so we could stop fighting, so we could come together, tribe up together, okay? So that we could stop fighting each other and protect our mutual interests. Well, you know what? My ancestors are proud of me right now. So you think I care what y'all got to say? I really don't. Well, I do, in a sense, but it doesn't bother me no harm, okay? Because I'm going to continue to do what my ancestors put in me to do. And that is unite my people and let them stand together and defend themselves against tyranny, okay? The decision by Indiana Territorial Governor and later President William Henry Harrison in 1811 to attack and burn Prophettown, the Indian capital on the Tippecanoe River, while Tecumseh was away campaigning the Choctaw for more warriors, incited the Shawnee leader to attack again. You hear that? We had our own capitals, our own towns, right? This time, he persuaded the British to fight alongside his warriors against the Americans. All right? And when they're talking about the Americans, they're talking about the invaders. So he convinced the British to fight on their side. Tecumseh's death and defeat at the Battle of Themis in 1813 made the Ohio frontier safe for the settlers, at least for a time. And they're showing the pictures. Now do you see? You're literally seeing the true depiction of the complexion of the Indians. And that's Creek Indians. You see how dark they are? Just like me. Okay? Creek Indians and inhabitants of Fort Meade, Alabama. The Creek Indians of Alabama during the Creek War. And that's in 1813. So as much as 1813, yes, the natives were dark. So let me ask you a question. Who the hell is these natives right now? Who are they? Claiming to be the original people. Y'all talking about Chief Chill? Man, let me, yo. The Creek War in the South, the War of 1812, bled into the Muskogee Creek War of 1813 to 1814, also known as the Red Stick War, an intertribal conflict among Creek Indians factions. The war also engaged U.S. militias along with the British and the Spanish, who backed the Indians to help keep Americans from encroaching on their interests. Early Creek victories inspired General Andrew Jackson to retaliate with 2,500 men, mostly Tennessee militia, in early November 1814. To avenge the Creek-led massacre at Fort Meade, Jackson and his men slaughtered 186 Creek at Tallahatchie. He shot them like dogs, said Davy Crockett. All right, shot them like dogs. What's wrong with you? In desperation, Muskogee Creek women killed their children so they would not see the soldiers butcher them. Yo, do you hear that? And you want to tell me what? You want to tell me what? Huh? Yo, I'm literally in tears right now. Do you know what my ancestors went through? They showed me in visions what they went through. Huh? In desperation, the Muskogee Creek women, they killed their children so that they would not see the soldiers butcher them. Do you know what heart and guts that it takes an indigenous woman to kill her own child so that the enemies wouldn't butcher them? You sell out Negroes? As one woman started to kill her baby, the famed Indian fighter Andrew Jackson grabbed the child from the mother. She was about to kill her baby. Okay? Just so she could save her baby. You hear me? That's called tough love. How many of y'all have the guts to do that today? A bunch of weak Negroes. Huh? Later, she delivered the Indian baby to his wife, Rachel, for both of them to raise as their own. Jackson went on to win the Redskin War in a decisive battle at Horseshoe Bend. The subsequent treaty required the Creek to cede more than 21 acres of land to the United States. You hear that? To give them 21 million acres of land to the United States, but yet still united war. All right? A painting depicting the Trail of Tears, that's my ancestors, when Native Americans were forced by law to leave their homelands and to move to designated territories in the West. Yes, their skin were dark. So let me ask you a question. Who the hell is these natives claiming to be us? Huh? They put the BIA in place, Bureau of Indian Affairs, for what? To keep us out. Forced removal. One of the most bitterly debated issues on the floor of Congress was the Indian Removal Bill of 1813, pushed hard by then President Andrew Jackson. Go look it up and read it. Okay? And then you go ask your ancestors for forgiveness for saying to forget the past. Move on. Despite being assailed by many legislatures, as immoral. The bill finally passed in the Senate by 9 votes, 29-17, and by an even smaller margin in the House. In Jackson's thinking, more than 3 dozen Eastern tribes stood in the way of what he saw as the settlers' divinely ordained right to clear the wilderness. Okay? We are the children of the wilderness. Build homes and grow cotton and other crops. In his annual address to Congress in 1833, Jackson denounced Indians, stating they have neither the intelligence, the industry, the moral habits, nor the desire to improve, which are essential to any favorable change in their condition. The nerve of this bastard, established in the midst of another and superior race. You hear that? But you're not at war? Huh? They must necessarily yield to the force of circumstances and ere before long disappear. You hear that? They want to make you disappear. That's what they're still doing today. But you're not at war. Even your Bible call you fools and stiff-necked people. But you want to open up the Bible? You sound just like a pastor that want people just to see what they want them to see. Go read the part where, in the Bible they call you fools and stiff-necked people. Go read that part. Go read that part. Alright? Go read that part. From 1830 to 1840, the U.S. Army removed 6,000 Indians, Choctaw, Creek, Cherokee, and others from the east in exchange for new territory west of Mississippi. Thousands died along the way, what became known as the Trail of Tears, and whites pushed ever westward. The Indian designated territory continued to shrink. Mankato executions, annuities, and provisions promised to Indians through government treaties were slow in being delivered, leaving Dakota Sioux people who were restricted to reservation lands on the Minnesota frontier, starving and desperate. So let me ask you a question. Who are these natives right now claiming to be the Sioux people? But you hear that? They were dark. As much as early in 1862, they were dark. So who are these people? I'm going to ask you again. After a raid of nearby white farms for food turned into a deadly encounter, Dakotas continued raiding, leading to the Little Crow War of 1862, in which 490 settlers, mostly women and children, were killed. President Lincoln sent soldiers who defeated the Dakota, and after a series of mass trials, more than 300 Dakota men were sentenced to death. All right? While Lincoln commuted most of the sentences on the day after Christmas at Mankato, military officials hung 38 Dakotas at once, the largest mass execution in American history. But you want to tell me forget the past? We are not at war? Huh? More than 4,000 people gathered in the streets to watch, many bringing picnic baskets. Right after Christmas, bringing picnic baskets. Hence, pick a nigger, picnic. The 38 were buried in a shallow grave along the Minnesota River, but physicians dug up and most of the bodies to use as medical cadavers. All right, cadavers. You hear that? Man, the disrespect for my ancestors. You tell me forget the past? The Sand Creek Massacre. Indians fighting back to defend their people and protect their homelands provided ample justification for American forces to kill any Indian on the frontier, even peaceful ones. You hear that? Even the peaceful ones got killed. On November 29, 1864, a former Methodist minister, John Shivington, led a surprise attack on peaceful Cheyennes. You hear that? And Arapahos on their reservation at Sand Creek in the southern Colorado. You hear that? Peaceful. And you know who did it? A Methodist minister. Yes, the ones who gave you the Bible. His force consisted of 700 men, mainly volunteers in the 1st and 3rd Colorado regiments. Plied with no much liquor the night before, Shivington and his men boasted that they were going to kill Indians. Oh yeah, that's right. A minister, a pastor. Okay, a pastor. once a missionary to Wyandotte Indians in Kansas. He was once a missionary to our own people. All right. Shivington declared, "Damn, any man who sympathizes with Indians, I have come to kill Indians and believe it is right and honorable to use any means under God's heaven to kill Indians." Yes, that is the same God they have in the Bible. You tell me to open up and pray. The fateful cold morning, Shivington led his men against 200 Cheyennes and Arapahos. Cheyenne chief Black Kettle had tied an American flag to his lodge pole as he was instructed to indicate his village was at peace. When Shivington ordered the attack, Black Kettle tied a white flag beneath the American flag, calling his people that the soldiers would not kill them. As many as 160 were massacred, mostly women and children, after he put up a flag of peace. 2 flags, the American flag and a white flag. Guess what? 160 of them, mostly women and children, were killed. But you're not at war, you passive-ass Negroes. Custer's campaigns. At this time, a war hero of the Civil emerged in the West. George Armstrong Custer rode in the front of his mostly Irish 7th Cavalry to the Irish drinking tune. Gary Owen Custer wanted fame and killing Indians, especially peaceful ones who weren't expecting to be attacked. Represented opportunity. Okay? They were peaceful. On the orders of General Philip Sheridan, Custer and his 7th attacked the Cheyennes and other Arapaho allies on the western frontier of Indian Territory on November 29, 1868, near the Washita River. After slaughtering 103 warriors plus women and children, Custer dispatched to Sheridan that a great victory was won and described one the Indians were asleep. You hear that? That's why they got y'all asleep today. But I'm here to wake my people up. 2, the women and children offered little resistance. 3, the Indians are bewildered by our change of policy. Custer later led the 7th Cavalry on the northern plains against the Lakota, Arapahos, and northern Cheyennes. He boasted the 7th can handle anything it meets, and there are not enough Indians in the world to defeat the 7th Cavalry. That's right, Christianity. Okay? Expecting another great surprise victory, Custer attacked the largest gathering of warriors on the high plains on June 25th, 1876. You hear that? Up to 1876, they were still considered dark. Near the Montana's Little Bighorns River, Custer's death at the hands of Indians making their own last stand only intensified propaganda for military revenge to bring peace to the frontier. All right? Wounded Knee. Here they show a picture, burial of the dead after the massacre of Wounded Knee. Wounded Knee. Anti-Indian anger rose in the late 1880s as the ghost dance spiritual movement emerged, spreading to 24 tribes across 16 states and threatening efforts to the culturally assimilate tribes. You hear that? The ghost dance. So when you see all these so-called natives talking about that's them, no, that's not them, that's us. They were still dark in the late 1800s, 1880s, almost the early 1900s. So everything that just happened was recent. Okay? Ghost dance, which taught that the Indians had been defeated and confined to reservations because they had angered the gods by abandoning their traditional customs, called for a rejection of the white man ways. All right? We rejected. Okay? It angered our gods because we abandoned our traditional customs. In December 1890, several weeks after the famed Sioux chief Sitting Bull was killed while being arrested, the U.S. Army's 7th Cavalry massacred 150 to 200 ghost dancers at Wounded Knee, South Dakota, for their mass murder of disarmed Lakota President Benjamin Harrison awarded about 20 soldiers the Medal of Honor. Resilience. 3 years after the Wounded Knee, Professor Frederick Jackson Turner announced at a small gathering of historians in Chicago that the frontier had closed. with his famous thesis arguing for American exceptionalism. James Earl Frazier's famed sculpture End of the Trail, which debuted in 1915 at the Panama Pacific International Exposition in San Francisco, exemplified the idea of a broken, vanishing race. You hear that? The idea of a broken, vanishing race. Their idea and their intentions is to get rid of you, to make you vanish. Ironically, just over 100 years later, the resilient American Indians population has survived into the 21st century, swelled to more than 5 million. But guess what? The numbers is deceiving, because it's over 100 million of us. You hear that? Ironically, just over 100 years, the resilient American Indian population, that's right, I am resilient, and that's the blood of my ancestors in me. You feel me? And we are going to continue to swell. Don't mind me. I'm a little bit emotional right now. We are going to be victorious. So I'm going to continue to fight, stand up, and teach my people, elevate my people, build my people, unite my people, and teach my people to defend themselves. The link for that article is below. Go learn your history and ask your ancestors for forgiveness. Peace and love.